Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at how we can create customer invoices in each of the different bookkeeping software applications. Just before we do that, I just noticed when you have created a new subscription for each of the different software types, you've got a wizard to help you get going, and I thought I'd just point that out. I will actually come back to look at the dashboards in more depth in a later video, but I just thought it was interesting to note. So Sage, for example, I added a quick customer so I can see in the sort of get it started area, customers added. One of the first things I did is connect a bank. It was the same pretty much for every one of the different types. So I've got starts my invoicing there. If I go into into Zoho, I can see from the home page I've got a getting started tab within there, and again I've got the option to create my first invoice. If I'm looking at free agent, pops up, appears, do I want to send my first invoice? If I'm in Xero, I've got the option there to create my first invoice from the dashboard. And in QuickBooks, I can see from within my dashboard, one of the first things I might want to do is sort of make my invoices personalized and payable. So I'm going to start off with creating my first invoice in Sage, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so back in Sage, I'm going to choose this option to create an invoice, and then this option here to create a new invoice. I'll select the customer, and I'll close down these pop-ups. So I'm just going to try and do this without looking at them. And I've got the invoice date, the due date, invoice address, delivery address. I can edit those, that's no problem. I could put in the description for the work done. A product or service is not actually mandatory in Sage. It's an optional extra, for enhanced reporting, if you like. You can just code it directly to your nominal ledger account. Now I do have VAT disabled on this file at the moment, so that's why I'm not getting any VAT appearing. So I'm just going to choose the option save as a draft invoice or pro forma invoice. Let's have a look. I just want to save and email. And let's just send that out. So that invoice has been created and issued. I'm just going to take a quick look at my customers, and I did actually put one in here earlier on, which is why I've got two invoices appearing. Fantastic, that works pretty easy. What I'm going to do first of all, actually, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is that I'll just look at creating invoices first of all, and then I'll look at the layout of each of the invoices afterwards. So now I'm going to go into Zoho, and also I've created the customer. It's pretty similar in every software package, name, address, and I'll look at those separately in a video, that what customer information is stored. So I'll have a separate tutorial for that. So now in Zoho, I'm going to use this option to create my first invoice. Create an invoice. I've got some options here about discounts. I'll just choose this option. I don't give discounts to make it easier for this one. I'll select a customer, which I've got there as Beetson. Again, order number, salesperson, I don't need that. I want to make it pretty straightforward. And item details, I'll just put, again, I'm just going to type something in, sales. Do I need an item? I'm not 100% sure, in fact. I'm just going to put in a rate, let's say 500. Again, I've not enabled any VAT, so I'm not expecting to see that on here at the moment. And from there, let's just see if I can just choose the option to save and send. Save and send. The invoice has been created. There's the draft text, email, And let's just choose the option there to send. So that should have been sent. That is marked as sent. And if I look at customers here very quickly, I can see I've got receivables balance in there for 500. If that's all good, I'll show that they're owed me money in there too. Again, pretty straightforward. Okay, so in Free Agent now, I'll choose the option here to send an invoice from the pop-up, and then here at the top to add a new invoice. I'll select my contact here, which is Ash Beetson. I've put a couple of invoices on here already, just to help me understand it the process a little better. I've got additional text in there for work done, and I can basically create my new invoice even before you actually see any values, which sort of threw me a little bit for the first time. But now that I've basically creating my invoice, I can add the items. And then I can choose to create and finish. And send by email. Standard sort of email, and a copy of the invoice as well. I'll just click on that option to send. Body can't be blank. Please find attached invoice. Okay, send. Okay, again, fairly straightforward, I think, and I will towards the end of this video we'll look at how the invoices look, and also we'll take a look at the emails that come through as if to the customer, so we can see what they look like. Okay, so now into Xero, let's have a go at creating my first invoice within here. So I'll choose this option, create first invoice. I've got my customer, Ash Beetson, which I've already put the customers in just to make it a bit easier. The due date, let's select the due date, 14 days. Invoice number, reference, I don't need to put anything in there at the moment. Item, if I don't need an item, let's just go straight to description. Work done. One of those, 500. No VAT, so it's going straight to my sales profit and loss category, which is fine. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's just approve and email, I think is what I want to do. I didn't put an email address, obviously I must have done in my settings, so I'll just put something in here. Okay, pretty straightforward. Let's send. I'll skip my survey for now. So that seems to be good. Again, I'm just going to go into my contacts, and I can see that customer owes 500. So again, that's worked, no problem. Okay, so into our last piece of software, QuickBooks Online, one I'm more familiar with. When I actually set up the subscription, I was asked initially, did I want to create an invoice template? One of the first things I was asked to do, in fact. I didn't record that, and I'm going to come back and look at the invoice templates next in a moment against each of the different providers. But here I am within the dashboard in the home area. One of the first things I'm going through my sort of setup checklist. There is the option there to create an invoice. So let's go ahead and select that, create an invoice. I'll just give that another click. So here we go. I'll just close those pop-ups down. As with all the others, I've created a customer here. One thing I did actually notice, I'm not sure whether I like this or not, is when I went through the option of setting up a a template initially, it actually emailed out an invoice to me, and doing that actually created a sample customer, which I'm not sure if I actually like that or not. The reason why that customer's actually got a balance outstanding against it, so not too sure about that one. Anyway, there's the customer that I've just that I created a minute ago, and I'm going to go through again. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to go through and look at the different customer options in a separate video. But I've got the customer name, I've got terms there, invoice date, due date, which is fine. Service date is optional. I know that you don't have to use that as an optional field, and you can actually remove that from your settings as well. You do have to use a product or service when you put an invoice on for QuickBooks Online. You always get given a couple by default, either by hours or services. I'm just going to select services here, and I'll put in a dummy description, work done, which is what I put on all the other ones, and 1 unit of 500. And again, I've not enabled VAT on this particular company file, so that's why I don't see any VAT values. Pretty much nothing else that I need to do on there, so that's pretty easy. I've got an email address in place, so I can just choose the option there to save and send. And I've got my default text, which again I can change in my settings. I can make changes against that, and I can edit it there before I send it out. And on the right I can see what the email is going to look like. I'm just going to choose to send and close. And I'll remove that pop-up for now. It's just the different payment methods we can start setting up if we wish. So I'll just don't show that again for now. So creating the invoice, pretty easy there. So against every platform, I think actually creating a customer invoice, not too different on each one really. Very, very straightforward. Now, what is probably going to be a little bit different on each one is how we create the invoice template. So we're going to move on to that next. Okay, so starting off with Sage, I can see within my sort of getting started area in this sort of summary page that I've got the customizing your new invoice opens up a new tab. I did have a very quick look in here. There's a pretty useful video that I recommend you watch if you're going to start using Sage. Now, if I take what I've learned from that, and I didn't watch all of it, I sort of watched as much as I thought I needed to. For now, I'll pop up to my business settings, and let's go into document settings and templates and logos. You've got a mixture of sort of product based if you're selling stock. You've got quantities and rates, service based, more straightforward. I'll just select this graphite one there, and I'll add a logo. So let me just see if I can just find a, oh, I've got one of my old logos there, so I can upload that one. I don't know if that's going to be too big. Oh, there we go, I can resize it. Let me try that. And you can add additional logos in too. I wonder if I can just find another logo. Let me just go into my sort of QuickBooks. There we go. I've got some QuickBooks training logos in there. I've got that one will do. So quite nice that you can add up to 2 additional logos. So perhaps if you're certified in a particular way, you've got those different options there. Perhaps for like gas regulated, quite a common one too. So 1 logo plus 2 additional ones, and you've got color options. That will do for now. Let me just save that. And just coming back to that logos, let me preview that. There we go. I can see I've got my main logo there at the top, followed by my logo there down the bottom. So yeah, I'm happy with that at the moment. So I'm not spent too long messing around with this, so I'll just close that down. While I'm still looking at Sage, there are a lot of additional settings that you can edit if you wish. You've got your document preferences, which includes how your different documents are titled, your different numbering options, you'll all find those within there. And if I just go back up a stage, you've also got your sort of email preferences that accompany your invoices as they go out, as well as different options there for your settings. But for now, I'm just concentrate on the basics of the template, and that looks good to me. Okay, so into Zoho now, and it took me a minute or two to find the template, but if I come into sales and go into invoices, then I can see the invoices I've created so far on this list. And if I actually open up the invoice, then I do see what the invoice is going to look like. Here is the invoice template itself, and to be honest, that's exactly how I would probably create my invoice template, so I think it looks pretty neat. There is an option I noticed to change the template. I'm not sure exactly how I do that. When I do select change, I see the one that I've got, and I had a go at searching and I couldn't really find anything, so perhaps I need a different subscription type to be able to change that. I mean, I could look into it in more detail and maybe another time, but for now, that's the basics of the template, which looks pretty good. Nothing that I really want to change. I did notice if I come into my settings, you've got some different preferences with your invoices as to different what fields you actually use, and again, I'll probably go into that in a separate video to look at it in a lot more detail, but for now the template itself is pretty good, I think. Okay, so in Free Agent now, a moment ago within my sort of dashboard, if you like, I saw a link to upload my logo, which I've done pretty easily. If I come into my settings, then I do see I've got that option to upload company logo again, so that's quite easy. If I come into theme settings, I can see I've got some basic templates already available. I've got this option to create a custom theme, so I'll just click on that. You can change your sort of the thickness of the dividers, if you like, that runs sort of through. If you want to change your sort of logo size, and you can change the accent color running through your template a little, and you can also change your default text type as well. I'll just change that on a couple of mine, so Sans Pro, and let me choose the option there to save and finish. So once I've done that option to save and finish, I've got a custom one, and I'll choose that to make that my default. And what I will do with all of these templates that I set up, I'm going to create an additional invoice, email it out, and then we'll open up each of those emails and see what they look like. So that just seems pretty straightforward for now. Let's move on and have a look at the Xero one. Okay, so here we are in Xero. Just before we look at that invoice setting, I went into my settings for the company and into settings. Within your organization details, you can upload your company logo, and that's what I have already done. And then I've just went into invoice settings. In my invoice settings, I've got a standard template, which you can choose to sort of edit this if you wish. And if I do go into edit, you can see there's a lot of options in here with regards to your margins and the sizing, so there's quite a bit that you can actually change there. I'll just choose to save that and leave it as is, and if I just come and look at the preview, you can see what the invoice template is going to look like. And again, I'm going to create some invoices so we can see what they actually do appear like when they come through on email. What is quite nice here, in fact, is that we can see the sort of desktop view as well as the mobile view of how the invoice should appear through mobile. Now, a moment ago, I did actually have a go at creating a new sort of branding theme, so a new template. What's interesting here, if I just call this Ash Test, is if I do save, then you can then upload a different logo against a different brand, if you like, within your Xero file. But it appears that's only one logo per branding theme, unless I've just not put the correct setting in place. So again, that's something we can query another time. Okay, so in QuickBooks Online now, part of your setup checklist that you find within the dashboard will be the option to make invoices personalized. And you can go back here, clicking on go, and you can go through that setup process from there. It does also start directing you to set up the mobile app, which you might not want to do straight away. So I'm going to park that for now. If you have set up any templates at all, or even if you haven't, we'll just go to our settings just towards top right, and then underneath your company you've got the custom form styles here. So you can create additional templates to the one that we already have, but I can also come in and edit just the one, because perhaps if I'm just a small business I only need one invoice template. Why complicate things, really? So choose to edit. You've got your option of editing your logo options, changing your colouring if you wish, changing your font, and then within your content you've got the different sections of your invoice. What fields do you want displayed when you print off the invoice? And then finally in the email section you can change the default text, the default wording that is sent out by email when you send directly out of QuickBooks. It's constantly saving, so if I've finished making any edits I can click on done, and I can come back within here to preview that PDF too, so we can have a basic look of what that invoice template should look like. And again, I've not enabled any VAT on this company file, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I think all of those different software providers, again, similar sort of on how we can edit our invoice templates. I'll probably give additional points to Sage there for having one main logo and two additional logos available. And I did quite like the Zoho one as well, just for the simplicity, and it looked quite neat, and it looked how I would like to set up a template, so I wouldn't have to do anything basically. Alright, so what I'm going to do for in the background is create some invoices, and then we'll open up an email and just see how all of those invoices have come through. Alright, so I've created 5 invoices pretty quickly from each of the different 5 software providers, £1,000 on each one, sent them out by email. Here we are in my Gmails, and I can see if I go into the first one from Sage, there's the email that's come through. I can choose to view the invoice. I've got a verification. And there is my invoice that's come through, and I can look at it as a PDF as well. Let's just open that up as the PDF. Yep, that's pretty nice. There's my extra logo on there as well. That's come through. Pretty easy, no problem. Yep, I'm happy with that. Let's come back into my emails. I'll close those down. Now the next one came through from Zoho. I don't see the option there to view, but I'm just going to click on the pay now, which I'm hoping is going to be the same thing. Yeah, there we go. So there is my invoice. Let me choose to download that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I quite like the way it looks, to be fair, with the Zoho invoice. It's just, as I mentioned earlier, exactly as I would actually create it myself. So I'll just close those down, back into my emails. Number 3 has come through from Free Agent. I didn't really put any description in there, but let me just choose to download that. And Again, yeah, that's a nice looking invoice. I'm quite happy with how that really appears. They're all pretty much the same. I didn't put a lot of description on the invoice. I just left it there as work done and details of work. That's fine. Yeah, cool. And we're in Xero invoice now. Again, that's the text that's just come through. There's a summary on there. I can view the invoice as well. I'll choose the option that's to download into PDF. Yeah, there we go, Xero work. Again, that's quite not even. I think that was on really on the sort of the default. So why would you really need to change it? To be honest, it's quite fine as it is. I'll close that down. And let's have a look on the last one that came through from QuickBooks. Again, the default wording that's come through, and again I can choose to review and pay. And again, there's the download option there. And again, there's my invoice template that's come through. So all good, all 5 of them pretty similar, to be honest. An invoice is an invoice. After all, again, there's going to be a lot more additional complexities with regards to, some additional invoice settings, some additional, customer options. And again, we'll look at some of them in a bit more detail, more in depth on an additional video. But for now, for your basics, for your simple company that wants to create an invoice and send it out, there isn't really too much difference, I don't think, on whichever software platform you're looking at. They're all going to do pretty much the same job. Thanks for watching.